hamburger into the big bowl. Okay? And, you know, of course, it clumps up. You try to loosen it up a little bit as much as you can. Alright. I have a lot of peppers and stuff, but I'll keep some up too. I'm going to put some up. I'm going to can some for winter. That way I can add them into, you know, I usually add them into my sauces and stuff. What I'm going to do is lay this right there for now. I'm not ready for the whole thing. I'm going to add some of my onions in here, because this will be the first batch. I have a feeling I'll be doing more than just the first batch. I may be doing up some more onions here too. Okay, now I emptied out most of that. Alright, what I'm going to do is add up some of my breadcrumbs. Now, I don't measure nothing out, so I just go by visual on the amount of hamburger and stuff that I have in here that would make it dry. More or less to hold together, that's what I'm trying to say. Now, I'm going to add in the steak rub. Okay, I got a little bit left in here, which should take care of the flavor in this batch here. Excuse me. I didn't quite use all of it up because I'm going by to give it just enough tang, okay, to be able to mix it up real good. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and, since I've got my ingredients in here, I'm going to mix that up with the rice when it's finished. But the secret too in making good homemade stuffed peppers or cabbage rolls is using tomato juice. A lot of people use tomato paste, spaghetti sauce, whatever. Now here's a little neat trick that I found, and it does work. It all depends on how many peppers I make. Now, I make usually a 6-quart batch, depending on how big the peppers are. You can go ahead and put them in the oven, which I find they cook faster that way than in the, you know, I have a roaster. It's a 6-quart Nesco roaster, which is, I've got it pretty well beat up, but I won't get rid of it. My mother bought it for me years ago. It still works fine, and it has a temperature gauge on it, and it does fantastic for your cabbage rolls, for, you know, for your stuffed peppers and so forth like that. And let's see what else. The only thing I need to do now is just wait for the rice to get done, then I'll go ahead and mix up the mixture. But what I add to the tomato juice is sugar. You put the tomato juice in there. Usually the 6-quart takes 2 cans, depending on how high, you know, the level is. I would use 1.5 cans for every 6 quarts of tomato juice. Then you add sugar to it. I cannot tell you how much. I just put it in there. Usually between two cups of sugar. That sweetens it, because if your stomach's messed up like mine, you will end up with real bad heartburn unless you add some sugar to it. And I find that it kind of coats the stomach, and it doesn't. The acidity from the tomatoes don't bother my stomach. So. But right now, I'm going to get off of here. I'll be back with you in a sec. Oh, I forgot to mention, I always save my sauce from, you know, from making cabbage rolls or green peppers. And you would not guess what I use that sauce for. Spaghetti sauce or sloppy joes. So I recycle everything, you know, because like I said before in the prior videos, I don't believe in throwing out food. So I take the sauce and I freeze it, or I can it, one of the two. It doesn't make any difference. And it has the flavor of the green peppers, it has the flavoring of the seasoning, it has the flavor of everything that I put into the green peppers or stuffed cabbage. And I in turn add the hamburger to the sauce, and I either use it, you know, like I said, for sloppy joes or spaghetti. It makes really good spaghetti sauce. So you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone. You know, we take so much for granted where we can just run to the store and buy. Well, it's going to get to the point, folks, where you're not going to be able to go to the store. Okay, because anybody that lives in the northern states or out west where there's a lot of snow, because if we get a northwestern, you know, it hits us just as bad as it does them out there, and you're stranded. You're in your house, and so you got to conserve any way that you can. And usually when they see the first snowflake, they go out and raid the stores, and the first thing that's gone is the bread. For some reason, it's always the bread. Like, it's filling, you know, and you don't have nothing else to go with the bread, but you're going to eat the bread, right? And to me, this never made no sense because of greed, because of people being lazy and not wanting to conserve a little bit and to prepare for the winter months. And being that I'm from the farm country, a little city back here, a little town, it's not even a city, got 2 whole lanes of highway, you know, our main highway is 2 lanes, so there you go. But being from a farming community back here, you pick up tricks and you pick up things that the farmers do, the older people do, and I've learned a lot of my stuff off of the older people. My grandmother was a cook, and I learned a lot off of her cooking. I just cannot make her baked beans or her tomato juice. Outstanding. She should have marketed that stuff. But anyway, we gotta think of the future here, and we gotta think of our family and friends, and you know, I don't understand where the greed comes in at today. A girlfriend of mine called me up, and she, you know, was crying, and I asked her, I said, what's wrong? And she's holding down 2 jobs, and she is seeing her son graduate from boot camp, so she wants to make that trip down there on the 19th. So she's getting caught up in all her bills so she don't have to face nothing when she comes back. And she explained to me that she's been putting out her money to get caught up in her bills and stuff, that she didn't have nothing to eat. So I told her to come on over. So I have it. I give it. You know, that's the way neighbors should be and friends should be. So, and that's why I'm sharing you my recipe today. And that's another thing. Some people are funny about giving out their recipes. I don't understand that, because to me that's greed. And I don't have tolerance for greed. But I'm sharing with you on how I make my green peppers. Be back in a sec.